Hello, everyone, and welcome to this MBA webinar. As I said, we've got quite a large number of people joining from all over the world, so thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Mark Dawson. I am the director of the Lancaster MBA. Just before we begin, I've got a few housekeeping notices. So you may have seen this on the slide earlier, but please note that the event will be recorded. Microphones and cameras are automatically inactivated. Captions are enabled, and if you require any further assistance, please make our team aware in the chat box. We do encourage you to share your thoughts and questions in the chat box. Some of them we may respond to live during the session, and others we will wait until the end of Aman's talk, and where we'll have some other pre-submitted questions in a Q&A session. So I think that's it in terms of housekeeping. I think we'll move on to the star attraction, our esteemed guest, Aman Bhutani. So Aman, a storyteller and a learner. He joined GoDaddy as CEO in 2019, having worked in travel, banking, and startups. He has a rich and varied 20 years, I think, of experience in technical management and leadership roles, ushering brands into new eras of innovation and global growth. I'm proud to say he earned his MBA from Lancaster University in 1999 and holds a Bachelor of Arts in Economics from Delhi University. He and his family moved from Delhi to Washington to pursue his career in the technology industry. They live in a multi-generational household near Seattle with Aman's parents, his brother and sister-in-law and niece and wife and 2 kids. And Aman believes in the spirit of shokunin. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah.
Apologies to any Japanese attendees today. But shokunin is a lifelong journey to compete with yourself and be better every day. We may find out a little bit more about that during the talk, hopefully. Anyway, I'm very interested in that. So Aman is a committed philanthropist to many organizations, including Lancaster University Management School's Investors in Excellence program. And since 2018, he has been on the board of directors of the New York Times Company and currently serves on the audit and finance committees. Prior to joining GoDaddy, Aman spent nearly a decade at Expedia, where he served as brand Expedia Group President and had leadership roles in the worldwide engineering team, culminating as CTO from 2010 to 2015. Before joining Expedia, Aman also spent time at JP Morgan Chase and Washington Mutual and founded the startup Critical Sense. He has been CEO of the global internet domain registrar and small business technology provider GoDaddy for just over 4 years. Leading their mission to empower entrepreneurs everywhere to make opportunities inclusive for all. Welcome, Aman. After that long and rich, diverse introduction, I hope you don't mind me going into so much detail. Thank you so much for being with us today. I think the schedule for today is a talk by yourself, and then, as I said, we'll monitor the chat. And any questions that I think relevant or you would like to answer, then just we can dive in. Otherwise, we'll wait until the Q&A at the end for that further discussion. So if it's okay with you, I'll hand over and take it away.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you all for being here. Big thank you to the Lancaster MBA program for inviting me. I have fantastic fond memories of being there. I can see a couple of folks, at least on the attendee list, that went to school with me. Hey there, and it's just awesome. Anytime I think about just any of my time at Lancaster, it puts a smile on my face. There's a funny story of why, at least to the Indians in the group, they would have expected me to pronounce my name Aman Bhutani. But a funny story is that the name Aman, rather than Aman, actually comes from my time at Lancaster. And, when I was at Lancaster, and the current people who were there or are there, I don't know if it's still the same, but you could take a bus from the stop right into town And one day I was waiting there and the bus was taking too long. So I called a taxi, and the cabbie came, and there was just sort of this odd interaction between me and him. And I was like, okay, I have plenty of odd interactions, the way I look and who I am. It's okay. I just moved on. The next morning, one of the folks that was with me in the MBA program, she came running to me and she said, "Hey, were you waiting for a cab last night?" I was like, "Yeah, I was. How did you know?" She's like, "Well, I was in the taxi coming to the university, and dispatch called the cabbie and said there is a man waiting for you at the bus stop." So the cabbie said, "What do you mean there is a man? There are a lot of men there. There's not just one man. How do I find this person?" And the dispatcher, she said, "I don't know. I kept asking him his name, and he just kept saying, 'Look for a man, look for a man.' And, I guess just look for a man." And then the cabbie rolls up to me and asks me a weird question. It was that morning that I thought, you know, Aman is better. Like Aman pronounced like the capital of Jordan is better than a man all the time. So now everyone calls me Aman Bhutani. And it's all because of one moment in
Really?
life, but actually, yeah, it's a funny story.
That's great.
So let me share, and I think we'll have about 35 minutes or so. I'd like to share a few thoughts with you. I thought about what might be relevant to this group of existing students, also alumni here. And one of my friends, actually, Amit, who was with me, he helped me out. He sent me a message and he said, "Man, talk about where you've been and what you're doing." And I'm a storyteller, so I thought I'd start with telling you a story about that happened over the last 5-6 years. I was at a university, a business school. Without giving out the name, I'll tell you it's one of the top business schools in the world. And the head of the school wanted to have lunch with me. We were there for a program. And when we went to lunch, we had these reserved seats and everyone went to the left. Excuse me. But he asked me to go to the other side. And he said, "Hey, can we have a private moment and have lunch together?" I said, "Sure." So we went to the right side. He took me literally to the last table. We sat down, exchanged some pleasantries. And then he asked me, he said, "Your profile, it doesn't fit. It just doesn't match. How did you get to this senior role?" And until that day, I never really thought about that question. It was in that moment that I realized that perhaps one of the best things that happened to me is that perhaps people underestimated me. And by doing that, it left me a lot of opportunity, and I was able to take that opportunity. So I thought I'd share my journey with you, and I'd share a little bit of the things that inspire me, the way I think about things, and hopefully it's interesting for you, and you'll get a few laughs out of it, and hopefully it can help some folks as well. So over the last few years, I came up with this idea that winning is a formula, but it's not a formula as in X plus Y equals Z, and it's always the same. Careers move up and down and sideways, and it was no different for me. But how you approach things, can be systematic, can be sort of about iteration, about improvement, can be about inventing new ideas too. You can have the range of incremental improvement to complete invention of new ideas just by being disciplined, by being humble, by listening hard, by making sure that you're not missing things that are happening around you. And frankly, too much of us miss too much around us. There is so much going on. I call that idea, winning is a formula. And if you look at my career, I started as a consultant in a small tech shop in Delhi. Actually, my first role was a network trainee. I was crawling through crawl spaces and putting network cables into these companies that had just gotten access to the internet. And I came to the business school on a massive spike in my career. I was doing really well. I had been promoted. I was suddenly making 4x of what I had started with. And the hope was, and the expectation was I would go to business school and it would be up and to the right. But that's often not the case. I graduated in 1999. I decided to move to the US. Getting a work visa was hard. getting a job without a visa was hard. And of course, the dot-com bust happened right around that time. So I kind of went back to the same trajectory I was on to say, you know what, I know how to write code. I want to be a programmer. I joined a group of people. We started a company. And over the years, I did well with that company and things were better. But then the dot-com bust really hit, and a whole bunch of startups disappeared, and we disappeared with that. And I decided to try my hand at corporate America. That's when I joined a large bank in the US called Washington Mutual. And I was there for about 7-8 years, and it was one of the casualties of the Great Recession. If you're based in the US, you've probably heard of Washington Mutual. It was one of the banks that went under with the subprime mortgage challenges in the Great Recession. And JP Morgan bought Washington Mutual, and I ended up at JP Morgan Chase. All in, I was there about 8-9 years, and it was great run for me. I used a lot of the ideas that I'm going to talk to you about over the next little while. And I went from just literally a developer with a desk with many other developers to being senior vice president and running very large teams and handling a lot of interesting things, first related to the website for the bank, and then I got to work in mobile as well when mobile was just starting out. And as is often the case, when you get to the point that you feel like you understand it, I had this mentor who would always tell me, he said, you know what, at this point, you're not learning anything more. And learning is really important to careers. You should go do something else. So I actually took a right turn. I happened to meet some folks at Expedia. There was a head of HR there, a VP of HR. She came and talked to me like 20 times and said, hey, you should move from JP Morgan to Expedia. And I ended up taking a job that was smaller than my role at JP Morgan Chase. And it was a change from banking into tech, into internet travel. And the next 10 years flew by. I went from being a VP of technology to being president, running Expedia and Travelocity and Orbitz. And I got to do many exciting things along the way. And then with some changes at Expedia, I decided to leave, and the opportunity of GoDaddy came along. And it's one of those things. It's very similar to me ending up at Lancaster. I ended up at Lancaster because Rick Crawley, the dean of the business school, was in Delhi, and somebody in Delhi really wanted me to meet him. And when I met him, we talked for a little bit, and then he said, you're very young, but I like your thoughts on leadership. I'll advocate for you. You should apply to Lancaster Business School. And it was the only school I applied to, actually, and they were kind enough to give me admission. And that's how my career has been. It's been a series of, events that happened that were not planned, that were in the general direction that I wanted to go, but never quite exactly what I thought things would be. And in the process, I think I was very lucky that success came to me in a manner that I'd never expected. But behind it all, there were some ideas that became very close to me. So I want to share those ideas with you today. The first one, Mark mentioned, is the idea of the shokunin and this idea of competing with yourself and being better every day. And you likely may have seen the film Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And before this film came around, I used to talk about the word discipline and what it takes to really be good at something over 5-10 years. But Jiro says it way better than I do. So I'm going to share it. And if the sound doesn't play, Mark, just give me a signal and I'll
yeah, we'll do.
Thank you.
やっぱり美味しいっていうのはどういうことだっていうからね。美味しいっていうのはそれ難しいでしょ。美味しいっていうのはどういうことだって言われたって。だけど夢だったっていうのはありますよ。だから頭の中そういうのがいっぱいはびこってたんじゃないかなと思いますけどね。新しいのってね、びっくりして飛び起きたことあるもん。これやったらいいかなって夢でしょあれ。だけど飛び起きる時あるもん。その自分がやろうと思った仕事、それにもう没頭しなきゃダメです。好きにならなきゃダメです。その自分の仕事に惚れなきゃダメなんですよ。ただあれがダメこれがダメって言ってたら一生経ってもまともなことはできないと思います。だから自分がこれを覚えようと思ったら それも必死になって死に物狂いであるということが成功にもつながるでろうし、それから自分が良くなった時に立派な人間になれるんじゃないかなと私は思いますけどね。でも例えばお寿司を作ってやってる。だけどまだあるんだろうまだあるんだろうって上を見るわけでしょ。ということはまだ上に何かがあるっていうこと。そこまで頂上まで行けば完璧かもわかんないけど、じゃあこの頂上はどこかっていうとわかんないわけですよ。今仕事しててこの年になって完璧だとは思っていないからね。気分いいですよ。一日中ほんわかほんわかで握ってられるし、職人根性でしょうねこれは。
I was really taken by this idea that you could improve yourself and be better and better. And about 15 years ago, I read a similar idea in a book. The book's called Monday Morning Leadership. And the simple idea was that to be a better leader, be a better person. But the question is, how do you be better, right? How do you get better at things? And it's by reflecting on things. It's by making things transparent. It's by being honest with yourself and being disciplined. And, Jiro has a 10-seat restaurant in a subway station in Tokyo, and he had 3 Michelin stars. He's amongst the best sushi chefs in the world. And sometimes, when I'd present this, I did a leadership workshop for about 10 years, and I'd present this video. The engineers would ask me really interesting questions. One of the questions I would get a lot, and I remember it being asked with a smile on their face. One of the engineers would always say, Man, you show this video, but Jiro, all he does is make sushi. With me, you want me to write code and talk to people? Like that's just too many things. And Jiro's not just making sushi. Jiro's great at preparing the ingredients. Jiro's great at deciding who should provide the ingredients. Jiro's great at training his staff. Every little thing about his restaurant is decided. If you are eating at Jiro's restaurant and they notice that you're left-handed, they will place the sushi differently right away so that it's easier for you to pick up. If they notice that you're getting slower and you might be getting full, they will reduce the portion of the size real time so that you get through all the courses. That is a true real-time adjustment. That is not just making something up, right? And that is not just fast. I could spend an hour talking to you about the idea of the Shokunin, but this idea has given me a lot of personal satisfaction and allowed me to just compete with myself, because the fact is that I don't need to compete with other people. I don't know what they're giving up. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they want in their life, right? But I do know who I was yesterday. And when I think about competition between companies, one of the things you want to know is, what is the other company doing? And you want information about them. Well, you have perfect information about who you were yesterday. And all you have to do is come in, be 1% better. And if you can be 1% better every day, I'll let you do the math on the cumulative aggregation of that. And it's really, really good. You'll be twice as good very, very fast. And very few people are twice as good. And it actually doesn't matter after a while what you pick to be better at. It can be how you brush your teeth in the morning. It can be how you start your day. It can be how you say hello. It can be how you smile at the first person you meet in the morning and do they smile back at you. And as long as you are pushing yourself to be better, that becomes the habit. And then, frankly, anything's possible. This idea of formulas also goes to, that different people have different formulas. They have reasons that they win really hard. And I try to look at people who are really successful, that inspire me, and look for the thing that drives them the most. So I'll end up watching lots of their videos or reading about them, and then I try to bring it down to one thing that really mattered to me, or I feel matters to them. And one of my favorite athletes in the world is Serena Williams. I love watching her play. I just love anything she does. And the idea that sort of just takes me by hold is how she talks about being addicted to winning. And I wanted you to watch a little clip of that too.
You know, you said that for you, I've heard you say that winning is addictive to you.
It is.
What do you mean?
I feel like winning for me is super addictive. I feel like once you experience it, you always want to get that feeling again. And when I won my first championship, I was only 17 years old, but I never forgot that feeling. And I feel like every time I win one, I want to reach that feeling of your first championship. There's really no feeling in the world like
Like
that.
it?
Yeah, and it's like you all these years of training and being a little kid and playing, and then winning is just a wonderful experience. So for me, I've always felt like I loved that feeling, and obviously I don't like the feeling of losing. I feel like
No, in fact, people close to you say you're a very bad loser.
I'm not the best loser.
That you're very, very,
But-
very bad.
Very
Listen, no
bad.
athlete, no champion likes to lose. I get
No.
that. But they say when it comes to losing, you are very, very, very bad at it.
I'm number one at losing too, so
Yeah.
you know, that's all I can.
It's pretty funny quote as number one at losing too. But I think the thing she talks about is how it doesn't matter how afraid she is or what fear she feels, what her desire to win is always stronger. And I call that desire to win in sort of in the stuff I talk about as hunger. You know, like people can talk about motivation, they can talk about passion, but the minute they do that, they end up explaining what their motivation is or what their passion is. Right. But hunger, we all understand. And somebody who doesn't understand what hunger means, you know, let's just keep food away from them from 24 hours and they'll feel it. You have to feel that desire in that manner that really pushes you, that wakes you up in the middle of the night. And I don't think, you know, it's a matter of finding the right thing always. It isn't, you know, find the thing you love and do it. I know a lot of people talk about that. That can be one way to get there, but you can also build the desire for what you do. Like, you know, my motto on that is either do what you love or love what you do. Either way, don't complain. You know, like Giro says, just don't complain. There is a healthy combination of loving parts of what you do and not loving parts of what you do, but still being really good at them. That actually makes you a better leader. That actually makes, I think, you a better person. And it helps build a great career for folks. You know, there are other inspiring leaders who've done things that I just couldn't have imagined. You might know the story. I think I picked a couple. I have a lot of these stories. I picked a couple that might be more relevant in the UK. And Diana Nyad has just done some phenomenal stuff. She's maybe less known in the UK. There will be one or two that are more UK friendly, but you know, she is an amazing athlete, an amazing swimmer. And actually, I'll let you watch this clip. But one of the things that she talks about is never, ever give up. And that's really, really important formula to winning. You know, there was a question that somebody asked, you know, how do you make decisions in tough spots? How do you make a decision when there's a lot of pressure? The number one way I do that is that I never, ever give up. I keep trying. It doesn't matter how many times I fail. I keep trying again and again to get better at it, to find an answer, to find a way. But let's listen to her for just a minute.
messages. One is we should never ever give up. You're never too old to chase your dreams. It looks like a solitary sport, but it's a team.
You know, I won't repeat the three things she said. I think you could just build a whole career just on those three ideas. She wrote a book a little while ago called Find a Way. And, you know, one of the best advice I give leaders who are coming up through the organization or people who want me to be their mentors, I say, you know, achieve what others cannot. Just find a way. It doesn't matter what the problem is. I can share with you problems that came to me because I was leading large organizations that everybody below me said above my pay grade, didn't want to touch it. But, you know, rather than pass it on, I said, let's find a way. Let's make a way. Let's find a way to do it. And if we don't give up and we find a way, we can achieve just unbelievable things. It's really amazing what people can do with it. And it's not just individuals. You know, she talked about it being a team sport. So one of my favorite stories is the story of the British cycling team. And I'm sure all the Brits know about this. It was 75 years of one medal. And then the British cycling team had, you know, every gold medal, world champions, Olympic champions. I joke that I know nothing about cycling, except I know that their coach went to business school and learned one important lesson, and it's called the aggregation of small gains. So this is a team that, you know, doesn't shake hands during competitions because they don't want to pass germs along. They brought surgeons in to train their people how to wash hands. You know, they bring pillows from home. They improve every bit of the bike, 1%. They've paint the floors of their shop white because it's easier to see dirt on white, and you're going to clean it better. And I don't know if the sun is completely blocking me out. We have a rare day in Seattle. We have so much sun.
But it looks really nice, Aman. Actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
This team just, you know, this group of people made something happen that nobody thought possible, which is that you could have a team rise to the top from nowhere and be world champions. And I have a little clip of them. All these clips are from YouTube. Actually, I should have said that earlier. This is a little clip that I love because it just shows the elation of what's possible with amazing teams.
Absolutely flying Great Britain. Great Britain are the world champions, and they are now going to become the Olympic champions. They are on fire. They are on fire. Here comes Chris Hoy, gold medal for Great Britain, a new world record. Kenny's got the head of the race, and Bourget will not take it. Kenny is the Olympic sprint champion. He wins the gold medal, and he won it in style. Victoria Pendleton has ignited the burners. Oh, she is the Olympic keirin champion. The gold medal is Great Britain's. Here they come up to the line. Oh, look at the time. It's a new world record. Trotters ripped out of the gate. A lot of trucks on fire. Victoria Pendleton's career ends on a silver medal. Chris Hoy gets the gold medal.
I'm sure you notice there's some connection between all these stories. And, you know, one of the ways I connect a lot of the different things I see, and there was a question to me also posted, you know, how do you motivate global teams and get people to work together? You know, the formula for teams in my mind is very, very simple. When you want to achieve the impossible, all you do is get a group of people together. You make them believe in something. And then you're very, very honest with yourself for whether when you try things, do you win or not? And if you win, it's great. You just go through the cycle again. Look at your team, see if you want to change anything, believe in something bigger, try to win. And keep going through that cycle. And if you lose, if it's not a win, don't tell yourself you won. If you lose, no change to the plan, except look at your team, look at what you want to believe in, now believe in something smaller. And all you're trying to do is build that sort of interaction between the team members you have and give them something to believe in. And, you know, I had a very large team globally, and every office is its own culture. Every human is different. You know, I don't believe in painting people with the same colors and saying, you know, or ideas and saying, you should think this or you should believe this. What I always talked about is here are a few norms that our team believes in. If you share 2 or 3 of those norms, that's a great overlap. We'll take it, right? And even with lots of subcultures in the team, a tremendous culture emerged for the organization as a whole because we believed in a set of things that were common to all of us. And together, we've achieved the impossible. There are stories I can tell you about, you know, projects that delivered hundreds of millions of dollars of value that nobody thought were going to be possible. And not only were they were done months ahead of schedule, right? Well before any plan could have had it, because the teams just knew how to work with each other and they built on each other. And that feeling of winning, that feeling that you feel hopefully in this video came to them again and again, where they knew that they had a way to win. They knew what the formula was and they were able to do it again and again and basically have that joint feeling of winning. You know, but as you follow my career, as I got more senior, you know, there's less of doing myself and more of, you know, creating the environment where others can be successful. And that's probably one of, you know, the biggest things for me is that transition from being able to take control of the projects, take control of the strategy and drive it myself, to almost 100% focusing on how do I create an environment where people can be their best selves. You know, in a sense, like the movie Kung Fu Panda, you know, like there is no secret ingredient. It's really just all about how good can you be. And one of the people I really like who creates that situation where people can be the best is Marco Pierre White. I have teams in Australia and they've been watching him on TV and all sorts of shows for years. But, you know, one of the leaders, one of the VPs on our team, when I showed this video clip, sent me a message. He says, oh my God, I've been watching him for a decade. I never looked at it from a leadership lens. I actually think there are 2-3 great videos of him on YouTube, where if you put the leadership lens on, it's all about leadership. It's all about how he's able to handle the situation. But let's show you a little clip. And the thing I like most about this clip is this phrase, don't force it, make it, because that's what people like me have to do as leaders. We can't force it. We have to just make it.
The last dish we'd like to taste belongs to Charlie.
Charlie is happy. Come on, Charlie. Gee, Charlie, from elimination last week to being tasted this week. What's the dish?
It is a honey semifreddo, lemon crumb, candied lemon, and a lemon and honey caramel.
I've stood at this block many, many, many times, and I've eaten many desserts in the MasterChef kitchen. This, without question, is the greatest dessert I've ever eaten in MasterChef. If I went to a Michelin-starred restaurant today and ate that, I wouldn't question it. I'd more than likely ask for the recipe. It is delicious. The smoothness, the balance of honey and lemon, the crunch, all together in one. Have the confidence to sprinkle it all over. Have that confidence. Allow your fingers to create the design. Don't force it, make it sensational.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, I've got nothing to say. Really. Yeah, I've got nothing to say either. How can you finish on that? That's amazing.
You know, as leaders, we often have to create situations where, you know, people aren't comfortable, where they're uncomfortable. And clips of Marco, he does it amazingly well. When he's running the kitchen, he will literally ask these contestants and say, do you want me to push you? Do you want to be the best that you can be today? Because if you don't want me to push you, I won't, right? And people always say, yes, push me, Marco, you know, and you can see how tough he is in those moments. And you see how people elevate their game. You know, I'm a big believer that you can't change people. You know, you can't go, people are not machines. We can't take a piece out and put a different piece in and tell them to be something else. But there is a hack in the human code. And that hack is that we can set a high expectation for people, and people rise to meet that expectation. They actually rise beyond that expectation and beat that expectation. And that's what Marco is able to do really, really well. If people are interested, I can share clips of the show where, you know, in the moments when you least expect it, instead of being heavy-handed and difficult, he's supportive. You know, and that's where you need that mix of tool set. But you'll also notice that when he comes in and he just stands and the contestants stand in front of him, just the way he's looking at them, they feel uncomfortable. And it's really important to get comfortable in the uncomfortable. You know, you have to have the confidence to go after it. If, you know, folks that finish this MBA program, or, you know, alumni who've done it already see it, likely folks that are in the program were already leaders. But after business school, you have to be a leader and you have to have the confidence. And one thing Lancaster did for me that I think it can do for all of you, and I think somebody asked me this question as well, is that by doing an MBA program and touching so many different facets of the business, from advertising to accounting to economics to organizational behavior to you name it, right? By touching all that, it takes the mystery away from these fields. And that, taking the mystery away, should give you confidence. It should allow you to approach those fields by knowing something a little bit about them. And there's a whole 1-hour talk I can do on knowing by doing and doing by knowing, you know, and the difference between those two. But I think the Lancaster MBA program particularly gave me the opportunity to dig deep in many, many different things. I had friends that were in business schools in the US, some of the best schools, and they, you know, talked about how they did case studies, and we had case studies when I went to the Lancaster program too. But the Lancaster program allowed me to mix that with research, allowed me to mix that with other things, and getting that confidence, you know, and you can kind of only get it by getting beaten a few times, by making mistakes, by having a hard time. You know, somebody asked the question, what is something that you would want people to fail at? And my answer would be, it doesn't kind of matter what you fail at as long as you fail. You know, because the only people that say they haven't failed or haven't done anything wrong, or answer a question that says, what's your biggest failure with, oh, I tried too hard, there's only two people like that. One, those who lie, and two, who haven't pushed the boundaries. They've never pushed hard enough to fail, because anyone that went to the boundary, that went to the edge, was uncomfortable and failed. And because they failed, they learned and they became better, and they had the confidence to make something magical happen. And last couple of stories right here at the end, and then I'll turn it back to Mark for Q&A. Here's a funny little clip, you know, as I got to becoming a CEO, a president, and then CEO, feedback became really important to me because nobody wants to tell you what's going on. You know, believe me, nobody wants to tell the the CEO of the company that something's wrong or the CEO did something wrong. And this clip just shows it in spades.
About the spotlight, should it be wider?
I had the same thought.
As did I. I can speak with the technical team.
Please.
Is there anything else you'd like us to take care of?
Oh, the bear is sticky with honey. See you soon.
The bear is sticky with honey. What does he mean by that?
I don't know.
The bear is sticky with honey. Those were his exact words.
But what does that mean?
Well, Gavin speaks in parables.
I think what Gavin is saying is, consider the bear, and all this pizzazz is like the honey, and it's become too sticky. There's too much of it. It's all over him.
Incorrect. No, see, the whole launch is the bear, and the honey is the pizzazz. The bear needs more pizzazz. The bear is ravenous for pizzazz.
You don't speak for Gavin.
I don't need to. This is the word of Gavin.
All right, forget it. You do it your way, I'll do it mine.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna show you.
Okay,
Make it clear for all of you, okay?
Gavin, I think you're really going to love the changes that my team has made to the presentation.
I think you might like ours even better.
Sorry, what changes?
We're presenting two paths, and you alone will decide which one we walk, Gavin.
The fuck are you talking about? I thought the presentation was fine as it is.
Wait, what?
You did?
God damn it. Why is this still here? I said it was too sticky. Don't you listen to anything I say?
The bear.
Sticky with honey.
So what did you change?
The spotlight.
Yes, we're making it wider, just like you asked.
Good.
You know what? Let's show you to your dressing room.
Yeah, and whenever you're ready, you let us know. We'll show you that spotlight, huh? You gotta love it.
We did it. We had to fly him in from Tucson, but we got the bear.
Gavin hates the bear. You failed. Put everything back the way it was.
Widen the spotlight.
One of my best moments in the last 3 years was that one of my directs, very talented person, sent me an email or a Slack message and said, Aman, I'm having a bear is sticky with honey moment. And I reached back to him and said, what do you mean? He said, hey, in the monthly reviews, you expect X, Y, Z. And it's not clear. Like, I keep trying and it never seems to meet your expectation. What do you really mean? And we got on a Zoom call. In the next 2 hours, I wrote the update for him. And it led to a revolution at the company where I then ended up meeting with every team and saying, no, it's not just about the instruction and writing a document that explains, I'm going to sit down with you and explain how the operation should be reported on. And we all need those people. We need the people that are going to ask us the questions as leaders. So, you know, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is just make sure you never fall into groupthink. You know, one of the first things I did at Lancaster was the 3 Mile Island case study. I don't know if you still do that, Mark. And I had no idea how to do a case study. You know, I'd never done one in India. So I had to call one of my friends. Her name is Amanda. I was the second youngest in the class. She was the second oldest in the class. We both had the first 4 letters in our name as AMAN. Seemed like a good person to call. And I was like, I've got this case study. I've never done one. What are we supposed to do here? Like, how do I start? And she explained it to me. And, you know, we all need to avoid groupthink. We all need to avoid that situation where the leaders are not getting the input that they need. And I'm just very lucky that I've been able to have people around me who do that. In the last couple of minutes here, you know, there are lots of other formulas. I've highlighted the ones I thought I could fit into the time. There's the formula of just doing the unexpected. This is Cliff Young, a farmer in Australia who ran a marathon from Sydney to Melbourne and came in first in his overalls. Nobody expected it. The way he did it is he just didn't stop at night. All the other runners stopped and he didn't. You know, and he won. And, you know, if you read about him, it's amazing. He's created a whole new way of running marathons. There is Malala, whose formula for winning was simply do the right thing. You know, it didn't need to be more than that. You know, and it, frankly, you know, the fact that people wanted to hunt her down and kill her because she said education is a human right. that one sentence is enough to inspire people like me and probably millions of people around the world. It doesn't take more than just doing the right thing. That can be a formula for winning. And more recently, sort of this idea of consistency and commitment keeps coming back to me. So this is the last clip I have for you. This speech from Denzel Washington is one of my favorites. I think I've watched it at least 1,000 times at this point. So, one last one for you.
Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson, P. Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So, keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So, keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
As you become successful, things will become easy. And just in those moments, I always remember this quote: ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Hardship's fantastic. Look for that. Look for the discomfort. Look for the failure, because that's where the winning is. And it's not just true, now if this is a picture of my parents with me and my brother, and my dad was a small business owner his whole life. His formula for winning was very simple. He had a small office. He had the key. He would be the first in the office. He would be last to leave. He would lock the office himself, and he made sure that he knew his stuff. So, what I'll leave the current students with, if you're going out there and looking for new careers because you went to business school just like I did, don't fall for, do the thing you love. Don't fall for work-life balance. Don't fall for any other thing that sounds like a formula for a good life or winning in your career. Find your own formula. For my dad, it was as simple as work really hard and know your stuff. And he was able to, go from nothing as a refugee from Pakistan coming into India to build a career where he was able to provide for his family, his extended family, and pay for me to go to Lancaster, which then, created the career I have today. So with that, I'll turn it back to Mark, just, a couple of minutes over. Mark, I tried to address some of the questions that were shortlisted, but I'm happy to answer.
No, that was fantastic, Aman. I think you did address that. I would like to focus on some of the questions that came up in the chat, actually, because we do have some good ones, and I think we had one or two that came in during the clip about Marco Pierre White, and the two questions that focus on kind of motivation. So we have one. You refer to winning as a motivator. How do you motivate people when perhaps there is no formal competition at hand with a demonstrable prize?
Yeah, for me, the biggest win and the biggest competition is with myself. There is no prize for that, right? I know every day, today I'm going to meet 10, 20 people. Today I'm going to make a set of decisions. There is no way statistically that I'm right about all of them. And all I have to do is spend 2 minutes, and it doesn't even take me 10 seconds. All I have to do is be honest with myself before I go to bed. Just think, is there one thing I could have done better today?
So I guess that goes back to the Shokunin
it's exactly
philosophy.
that. Yeah, the winning from the outside, the competitions from the outside all come in time. When you beat yourself and you're better and better, all of that will emerge. It's my experience and others I've talked to too. The world will come to you if you have something to give it, right? But if you go around looking for those outside competitions, you're taking a player, a candidate that isn't ready yet. And That's what you need to work on. You want to work on yourself to be the best version of yourself, and then things will come to you. And as long as you beat the person you were yesterday, it's, you're going to get ahead of other people for sure.
I really like in that video as well about the sushi, the guy creating sushi. He talked about love and loving what he was doing as well. So there's that passion for it or care for the craft of creating.
Yeah, there's a great question people ask me: is Jiro doing what he loves, or is he loving what he does? Right? And I'd say it's a bit of both. And I'd say that something that you do again and again and you start to find success in, you end up loving it. It just, you end up falling in love with it. You're doing it all the time. You're innovating, you're finding new ways to make it work. It doesn't matter if you're doing it communications or writing code. You end up falling in love with it, and you want to fall in love with it because you want that feeling of happiness as you do it. It doesn't mean every moment is going to be happy, not at all. It might mean that the happy moments come for an hour a day, while 10 hours a day is a tough grind. But that hour a day is worth those 10 hours to you, and that's what you're trying to create.
Okay, so just looking through, we're getting lots of questions in thick and fast now, some great ones actually. So Randall's asked, you mentioned team norms. What are some that you use, and how have they enabled you or your teams to move from what may be a bad place, so a place of conflict, confusion, politics, etc., to emerge into a better place?
Yeah, I actually once was put into a situation where I joined the company and given a team that was publicly known as the worst team in the company. And after about 1.5 years, 2 years, we became the best team in the company. And that is function of not just the business performance, but literally review ratings of the individuals rated across the company. And for that team, we created 5 norms. And it actually started with only 3, and we started adding them. And those norms simply were discipline, self-awareness, humility, hunger, and responsibility. Each of those had a story behind them. They have a little video clip. I didn't get to those, today, but they were simple things like, explaining what humility means. Humility is like the mango tree. The mango is king of fruit. When the tree has more fruit, it brings its branches down, making it easier for animals to get to the mango. Well, that's how humans should be. The more gifts you have, the more you should bow and make it easier for others to take those gifts from you. You shouldn't hoard them and stand tall on them. And in India, in most Asian cultures, bowing is a sign of respect. You bow when you say hello, you bow when you say goodbye. And by having these stories around each of the norms, it allowed people to make them personal to themselves. And those norms bound us with, 2,500 people across 20 offices across the world. Those common norms brought us together.
That's a really nice idea, actually. Those norms binding people across the world and across teams. We've had a question about your life, your busy life as CEO. Are there any daily rituals or habits that you have religiously followed in the past years that have helped you?
Yeah, I think there's also a question, did anything surprise me of coming into the C-suite? The biggest surprise I find people have, and I had some of it too, is that I think there's an expectation that things will get easier as we get more senior somehow. And at least for me, it's never happened. Every job I've had that's been more senior has just gotten harder and requires more energy and more effort. And maybe it's just the type of person I am. When I joined GoDaddy from Expedia, I remember telling my wife that, hey, I won't be traveling as much because I was traveling a lot with Expedia, and the company pace is a little, it's a SaaS business, not a transactional business, so things will be better. And she said, you're going to be CEO? I said, yes. She's like, I'm quitting my job. I said, what do you mean? She said, it doesn't matter how easy paced it is. Once you get there, it will not be. It will be crazy. So maybe it's me, but the type of rituals that I have, it's really around improvement. My 2 days in the same week for me can be very, very different as CEO of a large public company. You know, I could be on TV one day and with investors, and on the second day, you know, be with partners, on a third day, be with employees. You know, the daily rituals are really about how I do the work, how I approach things, how I make sure that I do it well. For example, a little neat trick I did, and you know, Christy's here supporting me from the PR team, and they have this challenge. Every time I go on TV, I make them score me. They have to give me a grade, and they have to justify it. If they give me an easy grade, I don't ask them again. You know, I ask somebody else next time. And just by through measurement, through metrics, to just saying, I just spent 5 minutes on TV. Was that an A plus, B, C? Let's hear it. Why? And you know, early on, frankly, when I started at GoDaddy, nobody would give me the feedback. So I brought in somebody I'd worked with for a long time, had him sit into one of those calls, went on TV, did the debrief, said, hey, what did you think? And he actually, while I was talking, had prepared this little document, and it said, you said the word more 7 times. You said this word this many times. You know, he literally, and then everybody saw that if he's going to critique the CEO, we should do it too.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, I mean, that's fascinating. You're introducing that self-rating, I guess, to self-rating ritual. Okay, I've been informed I've only got 2 or 3 minutes to go until wrap up. So I just want to try and get in some of the pre-submitted questions before we finish. So what's a challenge or failure everyone should experience in their career in order to grow?
I think it's not a specific challenge, because it's going to be different for different people. But the thing I would say is reach for the boundary, reach for the edge of your capability, reach for something that you think is not possible or others are telling you is not possible, and just decide you're going to do it and then find a way. And if you fail at it, no problem. Just scooch it down a smidge, you know, reach for something a little bit easier than that and try again, and keep reducing it till you hit it, and then keep increasing it, and you'll find you'll keep hitting it.
Excellent. And I guess what our final question, unfortunately, we've had so many questions come in, so I'll invite you back. I know there is a lot of my MBA students who are asking questions, and it would be great if we could arrange another session for you to speak to them. But I will forward on the questions anyway, just in case you get a chance to look at them. But the final question I have is, what are your goals for helping provide equal access and opportunity in your company and beyond, e.g. women, LGBTQ+, and different experiences, and diverse backgrounds?
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. You know, once there was an event, I think at Facebook, and they invited me to speak on a panel. It was a panel on diversity. And somebody asked me a question where I ended up sharing with them that, you know, while I was growing up through the corporate ranks, I had folks around me that either said or hinted things like, Aman, you look different, you know, if you do you really want to stand out the way you do? And because I said, well, why? And they said, the general impression you get is, well, when you make a mistake, nobody forgets that you're the one because of the way you look. And I thought about that for a few days, and I actually came up with a good answer to that question. And whenever I got that asked again, I would just answer it with the answer that says, well, what if I do something right? You know, this whole hypothesis that I have to hide and, you know, not be myself because I might do something wrong. Well, I'm going to start with the assumption I'm going to do something right, and people aren't going to forget me. And, you know, at GoDaddy, we have an amazing chief people officer. You know, I work with a lot of senior leaders who say they care about the employee base, who say they care about people. This is a person who cares in an unbelievable manner, in a very personal manner. And one of her claims to fame is that she worked actually with Stanford University and created a performance management program that led to better equality across the company. And we still use it over 7 years later. She's actually visited other universities and presented what they've done. We actually still send all of our data to the folks that helped us do it, and they go through our data to see if there's any bias in what we do. And one of the outputs of that process has been that for 9 years running, GoDaddy has pay parity across genders globally and also across ethnicities in the US, which is where we capture that data. And now we're doing more. We have a very strong GoDaddy United employee resource group, which is focused on LGBTQ plus. There's lots of push within the company to do every little thing that you can look at. We do want to explore it. We can't always do everything that people want us to do, but by having an open mind, by backing it with data, that's the most important thing. By backing it with data, we feel confident about the actions we take, and the results are pretty amazing.
That's a great note to end on, actually, Aman. And unfortunately, we are going to have to end because I need to hang back to Grace. But I just want to say once again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been fascinating. I hope everyone who's attended the webinar has found it as inspirational and as interesting as I have. Can I also thank your team as well? I know Christy's on the call. I don't know who else is actually on the call, but they've been absolutely great in helping us organize this. And it's not easy to kind of get a round of applause from a webinar, so you might have to just make do with me clapping you, but I hugely appreciate it. And I will hand over to Grace to wrap things up.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone. I just want to echo Mark, and thank you everyone who has helped organise this event. I just have a few parting words, just especially for our alumni community. I just want to remind that we've got a couple more events that are going to be running at the end of the month. So we're looking at Oxford, and there's also an event in Kuala Lumpur. In May, we are celebrating Lancaster University's 60th anniversary, and that will be in London. And to the MBA alumni that have joined us as well, we have our annual MBA dinner in London at County Hall. So if you would like any more information about those events, please do get in touch. I'd also like to take the opportunity to highlight our giving programme to Lancaster as well. Some of you may now be in a position to share some of your wealth or your talent or your treasure and pay it forward to the students that are following on in your footsteps. Aman is one of our generous donors, as we said before, and I also know there's quite a few on the participant list that have also joined us, that are also donors to Lancaster. So thank you so much for everything you do. People give from £10 a month to funding scholarships and prizes through our LUMS Investors in Excellence programme. So if you want to know more about that, please do get in touch. But just to close, thank you so much to Aman, to our wonderful speaker, to his team, to Mark for being an excellent questioner. And thank you all for sharing all your comments in the chat. It is much appreciated.